Hey y'all, it's Matt Rogers, of course. Today we have Brenden Deeg, one of the first guests that came over when it became just me on the show. Was at National Football Post at that time. Now is over at The Score, burning the midnight oil over there. Brenden, how's it going? How you feeling about the Birds? I mean, just in a couple words, just to kick it off.
Yeah, this is exciting times. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl in 6 days. It's weird. I just said this on a podcast that I just recorded. I've never felt confident before in like the Eagles winning a Super Bowl, if that makes sense. But like, I'm kind of feeling confident, man. Like, I think they're the better team. Of course, the Chiefs have the best player in the world, Patrick Mahomes. So of course that's an issue. But like, it just going back to, like, for instance, like Super Bowl 52, like, it was kind of house money at that point, right? The Eagles were, you went up with a backup quarterback, like everyone's taking Tom Brady. I think the Patriots were 6.5 point favorites in that Super Bowl, right? Like, Eagles were underdogs going into it. Like, now the Eagles are 1.5 point favorites, and I'm feeling confident. It's a weird feeling to be confident in your sports team that you like, especially growing up in Toronto and being a Leafs fan my whole life. So like, it's a different feeling. And I also just noticed you drinking out of a jar, man. Doesn't liquid just better out of a jar? It's one of my.
I don't know. It's like a weird personality quirk. I just never see a reason why you can't drink regular juice.
I'm telling you, liquid tastes better out of a jar. It's one of my life takes. So I'm going.
Is it? I'll investigate. I'll test it out after the pod. Yeah, like you said, I mean, in 2017, Super Bowl 52, the Patriots had the best player on the team, but on the field that day, I believe. But it's a team sport. It takes 22, at least 22, more like probably takes legit 30 something contributors to win it all, because you're going to need nickel corner or extra D tackle or whatever the case may be on special teams. So you said you're confident for the first time, but do you think, am I wrong in having said in the past that this is the best Eagles team by a wide margin? If they finish the job, that they're the best Eagles team of all time?
I think they're the best Eagles team. Like, just if you go from roster from 1 to 53, so it's 53 men active per week. There's 6, I guess, or 7 inactive. So, let's say 1 to 47 every game day. There's 47 players on the sideline. I think this, just pound for pound, is the best Eagles roster that's been built. And I can attest to the 80s and 90s teams, but I'm sure if you ask the old heads that are Eagles fans, they'll probably say the same thing. The 2017 team was a buzzsaw. They were awesome. Like, they were just rolling at that time. No one was beating that squad, but they had significantly less talent. Not significantly less talent, but less talent than this team. Like, think about that 2017 team.
I would say significant. I think it's significant. You're saying you're talking Torrey Smith or Devontae Smith. You know,
yeah. That's what you're Halapoulivaati Vaitai is your left tackle. Now you've got Jordan Mailata, because like Jason Peters is hurt that year. Darren Sproles is hurt that year. Like, the Eagles are starting all 22 players that were on week 1 roster in this game. Like, this is pound for pound the most talented roster that the Philadelphia Eagles have had. Even if they lose, I can still say that. Of course, it won't be the best season that they've ever had, because of course they wouldn't win the Super Bowl. That'd be 2017. But yeah, 100%. I think it's a pound for pound the best roster that the Eagles have ever put on a football field.
So you tweeted the other day, you were saying having a top 10 pick and being in the Super Bowl is crazy, which, I mean, undoubtedly is. A lot of people who are listening might not even know that, but the Eagles own the number 10 pick and hopefully the 32nd pick from my perspective. What position group are you hoping that they will address? I know that it's very early and people are like, what the hell are you talking about? Where, the Super Bowl's in a couple of days, but it's hard as someone who's like looking at the next step of things to not see that, especially in the perspective of whose last game as an Eagle this could be.
So I think there's 2 position groups to watch out for. The trenches, and especially on the defensive side of the ball, is definitely where I'd watch out for. Howie Roseman loves pass rushers, loves them, drafting them high. Like, you can just go attest to all of Howie Roseman draft picks. Majority of them are going to be on the offensive defensive line. I don't think it's going to happen on the offensive line. Like, they don't really have anywhere for this player. Let's say they did take someone in the top 12 or 15 to kind of fit there. However, I do think they're going to go best player available in general. If that happens to be an offensive lineman, great. But I do think it's going to be either a defensive lineman or cornerback. The reason I say that is because Derek Barnett's going to be. It's funny, Derek Barnett. We haven't even talked about that guy in forever, but he's going to be gone, right? Who knows how Brandon Graham's gonna that whole situation is going to play out. There, Robert Quinn, the contract is probably going to be as well. So it's really it's going to be really difficult for them to kind of replace that production without adding maybe a high draft pick at the defensive line position. So I expect that. And then cornerback's the other one. Howie has never really drafted cornerbacks very high. I mean, it's never been his.
Sidney Jones.
Yeah, Sidney Jones. I think Lito Shepherd might have been the last cornerback in the first round that this team has taken. That would have been back like early, like that 20 whatever years ago. So I think it's Lito Shepherd. But yeah, so that's another position group I watch out for because I have a very hard time believing that they're going to be able to keep James Bradbury. James Bradbury's been awesome. He's been he's been arguably a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. He was a second team All-Pro, of course. He's been great, but he's going to be expensive, and I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to him just because they're paying Darius Slay, who's over 30 years old. I don't think that Howie Roseman's going to want to have 2 30-plus-year-old cornerbacks locked up long term.
Absolutely. Yeah. And James Bradbury, with, if someone passes this along to James, hey, they're getting ready to get rid of you. No, like if James it's just the money that it's going to make it prohibitive with, having to pay Gardner Johnson, having to pay Hurts, having to pay others, Kaiser White and TJ. It just kind of seems that another team will be willing to do more than the Eagles
for sure
could do, even if they wanted to do, unfortunately.
Yeah,
you think they're going to ride with the hot hand and oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just saying, I think that's just the way it's going to play out. They're just not going to be able to afford him. Like, it's not good because of his play. Like, he's been great. He's been everything they could have asked for and more. It's the way the cookie crumbles in the NFL free agency, man. Like those 30, he's at 29 years old. He's going to want to get his last big paycheck. So hats off to him. He deserves every penny that he's going to get, and some team's going to be willing to give it to him.
Running back, you think that the Birds try to make it work to keep stable, relatively the same with Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell next year?
No, I don't think Miles Sanders is going to be back with the team either. I would be shocked if Howie Roseman pays Miles Sanders. Like if Miles Sanders has again been great, 2nd round pick. He's done a great job this year. He's had his best year as pro. He's been a solid 2nd round running back. He's been kind of everything the Eagles could have wanted again and asked for, similar to James Bradbury. But Howie Roseman doesn't spend resources at the running back position. I wouldn't pay him personally. I don't think Howie's going to pay him, just knowing this franchise, the way that they operate, the way that they put their resources. And again, Miles Sanders is 25. I don't know how old he is, but he's got 1 contract left in him, probably, right? He's going to want to get paid. And a team will probably pay him. Like the running back market, there's a lot of running backs in free agency this year. It's kind of nuts. So he's not like even the best. Like you have,
and now Tony Pollard's off the table.
Yeah. So there's going to be teams look in the running back market, and there's some guys there. But I think Miles Sanders is going to get a hefty paycheck, and I doubt it's in Philly.
Yeah. So the Birds, the Philadelphia Eagles, fun, not so fun fact. Philadelphia Eagles have never recorded an interception in the Super Bowl. Do you think that they break that streak against somebody who people say is the best quarterback of all time? Some have said that, of course. There's someone else that recently stopped playing.
He's been turnover prone this year. Like I think he's had the 13 interceptions this year. I don't have the exact stat for it, but can happen 100%. And I think this is the best defense to do it. Like you brought up the other 3 years, 2 of them are against Tom Brady. I don't know who the quarterback was in 1980, but against the Oakland Raiders. You have to look that one up, but I don't know.
Raiders, Kenny Stabler,
might have been
Jake
Kenny
Snake?
Stabler. Yeah. It was before my day, and I don't know how he was, and I don't know how good that Eagles defense was in 1980. But I don't think I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to be just like mistake free in this game. Like Patrick Mahomes is awesome. He's the best player in the world, like I said earlier, but he's prone to mistakes. And this is a pass rush that's going to get to him, in my opinion. At some points, he's going to have to make some plays. It could be a tip pass. It could be just like an errant throw. But I do like the Eagles to get a turnover and interception for Patrick Mahomes. I do think it's probably more likely than unlikely. And watch out for C.J. Gardner-Johnson off a tip pass. He's had like 4 interceptions this year off tip passes. I think that can happen again.
Oh, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth, man. I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson is he's on MVP alert for me. I think he
MVP
can
alert. What are his odds? Have you looked
MVP
up his
alert.
betting odds for that?
I might drop a little. I might sprinkle a little something.
Right now, it's interesting. Hassan Reddick.
Do it.
Hassan Reddick is 34-1. I think that's also a juicy one for MVP.
That is. Ooh, but I'm sure you're talking 50 something or 80 something.
Oh,
you know, we're getting really high for Gardner Johnson MVP.
Yeah, probably like really high. I can't find the odds right now, but yeah, he'd have to have like he'd have to have like 2 interceptions for that to go down.
A little bit of housework too. You got to take one to the house.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but watch out because he's a ball hawk, and in a close game, if they say the Eagles win 33-28, something like that, and Gardner Johnson has 2 picks and one that like sealed the game, it might happen. But yep. Hassan Reddick also is a very interesting one. Mm-hmm. Gainwell, do you think Gainwell is going to continue to tear it up in the Super Bowl like Corey Clement did?
Hell yeah. I'm so on Kenneth Gainwell props this game. Like I am weirdly confident Kenneth Gainwell is going to like have a breakout game. So like if you just take a look at Kenneth Gainwell props, like I was digging in today because I couldn't believe his rushing total. So I checked it out 2 days ago. It was 16.5. And I thought, okay, it's going to be like 22.5. It's up to 18.5 right now. I think that's like free money in my opinion. Like he was 11.5 last week. I remember like 3 hours before the game, I texted we have like a betting group with me and my friends, and I put in the group, I'm like, Kenneth Gainwell 11.5 yards is -110 right now. This line is fishy. Hammer it. We all did, and it was hit in the second quarter. And it's very similar in this game too. Like Kenneth Gainwell has been the best running back on the Eagles in the playoffs so far over the last 3 games. He's arguably been the best running back in the playoffs in general in the entire league. He has he has double-digit carries in back-to-back games, so both playoff games. He had 112 yards against the Giants. Like he's gonna get his touches and he's going to get the ball, and he looks great. I don't know what happened in between the week 18 and the divisional round, but he looks like a different player. I was always a big Kenneth Gainwell guy, but he just looks like he's got more juice. He's following blocks better. I'm all over Gainwell in this game. Like I will be taking over receiving yards, over rushing yards, over receptions, the whole shebang. I think he's going to be one of the Eagles' best players.
I just got a little bit more excited for the game because Corey Clement was amazing. And I mean, again, the Nick Foles was just out of this world, but that back of the end zone throw, I don't know if you'll be able to, you can replicate that in the Super Bowl. You guys go YouTube it.
One of the best throws. I will take it to the grave. Probably one of the best Super Bowl throws of all time. Like it still baffles me that he put that in the pocket there. Gainwell is like not similar to Corey Clement, but they can kind of do similar things in the receiving game. And of course, we saw Clement had 100 yards on 4 catches in the Super Bowl. But yeah, I think he's more talented than Corey Clement was in 2017. Like Gainwell was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft. I was all over the Eagles taking him. Tony Pollard was Gainwell's backup at Memphis 3 years ago, like just to show how like this guy's not coming from nowhere. Like he's a talented dude. So yeah, I'm weirdly confident that Gainwell's just gonna like ball out in this game.
Yeah, Gainwell is a significantly better runner of the football, especially in between the tackles. You know, Clement was a. I guess would you give Clement the edge as a scat back though, as a receiving threat?
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles, like Jalen, the one thing that Jalen Hurts hasn't really done this year is check down to his running backs. Like he hasn't, like Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott haven't been very active in the receiving game because they haven't really needed to, because like they target 3 guys on offense. They target AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert in the passing game, and it's what they should be doing. But I just don't think. I think if you put Kenneth Gainwell in a different offense and was able to be a receiving back, then yeah, I do think that he would flourish in a system like that. But I just don't think he's had the opportunities. Corey Clement was kind of like Corey Clement was an undrafted player, right? He had that kind of one good year. I think Gainwell is just far more talented running back on all aspects.
Slay, one of my favorites, has said that the George Kittle's comments during before the NFC Championship really triggered them. You think the NFL Awards is going to do the same thing? Happens on Thursday night?
For like who's going to win the awards?
Or like, say like Jalen Hurts gets snubbed, Sirianni gets snubbed,
Well,
Hassan Reddick gets
Sirianni's
snubbed.
not even nominated, man. Like,
Yeah, that's true. Already been snubbed.
I don't think there's no Eagles that are going to win it. They're Jalen Hurts is nominated. It's Patrick Mahomes is the MVP. Patrick Mahomes deserves it. Jalen Hurts was hurt those two. If Jalen Hurts didn't get hurt, I think there was a chance that he could have won it. But Patrick Mahomes has been the best player in football this year. I do think the snubs were Brandon Graham not being comeback player of the year. I'm not going to get too like hyped on that. It's comeback player of the year. Who really cares? I don't even understand what comeback player of the year means anymore. Like Geno
Right.
is the favorite to win it. What
Seriously.
is Geno? What is he coming back from? Coming back from being a shitty football player?
Being
like,
bad? Exactly.
Yeah, sorry for I don't mean to rip the guy. Sorry for Geno Smith catching strays on the podcast here. Yeah. But what is he coming back from?
I mean,
what is Saquon Barkley coming back from? Like being in a bad Giants offense? I don't really understand what the award means. Brandon Graham tore his Achilles at age 34 years old, came back and had his career year. Isn't that what comeback player of the year means? Isn't that
had 11 and a half sacks?
Yeah, I don't really understand what the award means. So
and he's in the big game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's if that I think is the one snub that did happen. The coach of the year thing, Sirianni was great. But it's
what about Hassan Reddick?
Oh yeah, Hassan Reddick should have been nominated 100%. I think Chris Jones was probably the defensive player of the year this year. They're going to give it to Nick Bosa, but I think Chris Jones was the best defensive tackle in the league. I think if you just look up the kind of efficiency numbers, he was better than Bosa. Reddick should have been nominated. I don't know if he can win it because he's strictly a pass rusher. He's been the best pass rusher in the NFL. He's not really the great run defender. Bosa can do both. Bosa's really good at stopping the run and pass rushing. But yeah, I think the snub was Reddick not getting nominated, Sirianni not getting nominated. I don't know if any of them should have won it. Brandon Graham, I think, should have won comeback player of the year, but just again, not going to get too hyped up on comeback player of the year. Who really cares?
Save for the near safety when Nick Bosa came unblocked in the NFC Championship, I really couldn't tell he was even there.
Yeah,
but that's against the Birds.
He didn't play very well against the Eagles. Jordan Mailata had his way with him. He was hurt too, I think, in the first quarter. He had
right away.
Yeah, he had a rough go in the playoffs. I think Nick Bosa he's a very underwhelming defensive player of the year. I don't think there was a guy that was out there that kind of grabbed onto the award and ran with it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they got to chill on these awards until I feel like you have to include the postseason. You can still the MVP or coach of the year or all that, in my opinion, can still come from a non-playoff team. But I feel like the weight of you pulling your team to the Super Bowl or whatever, not even just if it's the Eagles, because again, this is the only Eagles' fourth opportunity to ever actually win the Super Bowl. So, I'm not saying this as a Birds fan this year. I think that the postseason in all sports should actually count, though.
It's not a terrible. There's a lot of issues with the awards. I don't really know what MVP means anymore when a quarterback wins it every single year. There needs to be I think an offensive lineman should get an award at some points. You can argue Trent Williams was the best offensive player in football 2 years ago. He wasn't nominated for offensive player of the year. There's a lot of issues with the way the NFL does their awards.
Skill position player of the year. That's what it is. Exactly. And MVP is quarterback of the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
So scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence level? We've had Avonte walking around a walking boot. They said it's been cautionary and they're just trying to make sure he's 100% good to go. If there's a period during which Avonte Maddox, slot corner for the Eagles, has to come off of the field, what's your confidence level that Reed Blankenship will be able to get it done?
Oh, I'm confident in Reed Blankenship. He was awesome in the spot duty that he did play with Avonte Maddox off. I'm actually not worried at all about Avonte Maddox being injured. He was in a walking boot. I think it's all just precautionary. They're being as just stingy as they can. They don't want any injuries. I put everyone in walking boots, right? If you honestly,
right,
there's no one
double walking boot.
And you walking down the stairs, check all the food, make sure there's no food poisoning. Literally, take every precaution you can take. So I'm fine with the way they did it. But yeah, I think Reed Blankenship is even going to get some playing time. I didn't look at the snap counts from the NFC Championship game, but he had the forced fumble at the end, right? He's a baller. He's another good find. So yeah, I wouldn't be worried at all there.
We're a few days away now, and there's still time for your thoughts about the game to gel a little more. But as of Monday, before the Super Bowl, of course. What's your score prediction for the game? Super Bowl 57, and the score is.
I just did a radio hit about an hour ago. I'm asked the same question. I didn't really wasn't prepared. I have like a vision of how the end of the game's gonna go. I don't really know the score, but my vision, I think Josh Sweat's gonna have a huge impact late in the game. I think he's gonna wear down Orlando Brown. I think Josh Sweat is kind of an under talked about guy going into this game. Hassan Reddick's getting all the love. But they're gonna push. They're gonna slide protection over to Hassan Reddick. They're not gonna let Reddick beat them. Josh Sweat against Orlando Brown is such a cool matchup for him. Josh Sweat's so good at getting off the ball quick. Orlando Brown's a slower player. I think I think Josh Sweat's gonna have a nice strip sack to ice the game. Ooh. I'm going 31-28 Eagles. I don't love it, but I do think it's going to be close. Like
another strip sack to seal it.
I don't know I don't know about like the Brandon Graham level of ice, but like maybe 5 minutes left. Josh Sweat's going to make a big play. I just think that Eagles pass rush is going to be too much. Like at the end of the day, they can send so many different guys at you, and I think one of them is going to make a huge play towards the end. And I'm leaning Josh Sweat. 31-28 is my prediction. I do think that the Eagles fans should be prepared for them to get off to maybe a little bit of a slow start. I do think the Chiefs are going to come off firing. Andy Reid's really good at like 15 play
scripting.
Scripts. Yeah, he's exactly.
Great.
Like, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Chiefs like take the ball, go
jump
down
on them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would be patient.
Maybe in 10-0.
Exactly. Yeah. Even they think up 10-0. Like I do think the Chiefs are kind of going to jump on them early, but
we got Jalen. Jalen's gonna be so chill and like it's all right, guys. We got this.
No, exactly. Like I do think
see the little dance.
Yeah, I do think the Eagles are gonna end up taking it. But I still got 5 days to sit on this. It's I'm already like Super Bowl out, and it's only Monday.
I'm seeing on one of those quick throws. I'm seeing a James Bradberry pick with some open field. Because Patrick Mahomes is going to want to hit one of those arm angles, those really quick, because they're going to be obsessed with it. That's what I think. I think the way that they're going to come out is keep trying to throw those quick throws, not try to have Mahomes try to sit back there too long. And I think Bradberry's going to jump one. I'm
really curious to see how Andy Reid kind of starts the game, if he tries to go deep a lot, and if they get off to a slow start, if he continues to try to do that, because Eagles don't give up big plays. So I'm so curious to see how kind of Andy Reid tries to attack this defense. But yeah, it's definitely in the cards for a jump pass interception.
I want to see the ring around the rosy thing. I want to see the Eagles stop it. I want to see the ring around the rosy thing and get it, because it was freaking awesome. What did you think about the ring around the rosy?
Andy Reid, man, was in his bag with that. You know how many players are probably showing up on napkins over the last 2 days, ready to kind of ice throw them at the Eagles. I'm terrified of that, man.
Well, it's it was time when it was his time to go. It was his time to go, but 100%. He still is to be respected, and I'm glad that the slander bandwagon hasn't been doing too much this week, because I totally, when I saw that the Chiefs were winning, I was like, oh gosh, they're going to be so terrible. This town was going to be so terrible, but it hasn't been. I think it's been pretty good.
Andy doesn't deserve any slander. Andy's an Eagles legend.
Stand-up guy too. Been through a lot.
Yeah.
So, Brenden, thank you so much for coming on. Where can we check out some of your serious stuff and what can we look forward to before the big game?
So lots of cool episodes dropping on Double Dunk Podcast over the next couple of days. Just dropped one with Thomas Peterson, just breaking down the game. I've gotten a couple of cool guests lined up this week. You can check out my Twitter at Deeg _ Double Dunk Podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, man, lots of cool content coming in over the next few days, and we're getting there, man. Only a few days away. It's exciting times. It's wild. It's my first kind of Eagles run covering the league full time. So it's cool. It's a cool feeling.
It's awesome, man. I'll keep supporting your stuff, Double Doink and over at The Score. Appreciate you coming on, and see you again another time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate you.